Let's make some trouble.
Dungeon crawlers have been around almost as long as video games. Many crawlers take on an old familiar form where the player guides a group of adventurers through dangerous first-person mazes. Since you move your little party around the dungeon all at once, like a blob made up of fantasy warriors, the fanbase sometimes affectionately refers to these type of RPGs as blobbers.
Classics like Wizardry and Dungeon Master were pioneers in this realm, ambitiously attempting to bring a slice of the tabletop role-playing experience to the home computer. And like anything that turns a profit, these originals inspired dozens of forgettable clones. There's no question that treading along the same formula time and time again can start to thin the soles of your adventuring boots. So how do you make such an ancient design feel fresh once more?
How indeed. If your answer was, reach for the dictionary, I'd wonder, what's wrong with you? But shockingly enough, you'd be right. Today we're talking about Cryptmaster, a wordplay-based dungeon delver from the creative minds of Paul Hart, Lee Williams, and Acapara Games. Can Cryptmaster succeed in breathing new life into these dusty old bones? Or does it fall into the same pit traps that so many forgettable entries have fallen victim to before?
Let's crack open the old crypt and dive in.
My name is Boss Sauce.
And I'm Rollinkins. And together,
We are the two-headed hero.
It's dark and quiet. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes pierces the darkness, and a low, raspy voice breaks the silence.
Turns out this voice belongs to the Crypt Keeper! That's not right. This guy's actually the Cryptmaster, a powerful skull-faced necromancer that beckons you from beyond the veil of death. Yup, you're dead. In any other game, this would probably mean your adventure is over before it even begins. But not here. You crawl from your coffin and realize you're in a moldy, forgotten crypt.
Now you've shaken the worms out of your old carcasses, the real fun can begin.
Repeat the writing on the door of your resting place, and you discover your name is Joro, no relation to Goro. In life, you were a mighty warrior. Your three companions, Sin the Assassin, Maz the Bard, and Nyx the Sea Witch, once fought by your side against something you can't remember. In fact, there's a great many things that you can't remember, like words for everyday items, or what to call your combat skills.
As you slowly shuffle out of your gravesite like a decrepit zombie toddler, you start to find letters, clues that fill in the gaps of memory that time has rotted away. You begin to put the pieces together and reveal hints of your former self. But so many questions remain. How did you die? Why have you been summoned from your eternal rest? And what role does the Cryptmaster have to play in all of this?
But these questions can wait. First things first. It's time to break free of this tomb and find a way to the surface. Cryptmaster takes a creative approach at filtering RPG mechanics through the lens of word puzzles. The core of any dungeon crawler is going to be combat, and that's no different here. Fights come in two flavors, which you can switch to at any time: real-time combat and turn-based combat.
Real-time combat tests your typing speed and your memory. This feels a little bit like a strategic version of something like Typing of the Dead, since various words and phrases have to be entered on the fly. Letters are life bars for both your enemies and your heroes, and the object is to use your skills to take out all the enemy's letters before they do the same to you. Lose too many letters and a fighter will keel over until revived at the nearest desecrated altar. See that hourglass in the top left corner right there? That's how long you have before the enemy takes a swipe at you. So think fast.
Turn-based mode is for those that want a more chill experience, like me. It's more of a test of accuracy and time management. The hourglass drains a little more with every key press, and if you make a mistake, that's time you don't get back. There's ways to pour a little sand back into the glass by using trip or knockdown maneuvers, or divert damage from your more vulnerable heroes. And as you fill out the clues in this constant on-screen game of password, you'll unlock more powerful abilities. But the monsters in this underground realm will also toughen up. Some will carry shields that block a letter, wear armor that must be broken through, heal when they strike you, or even power up when certain letters are typed in.
To demolish these defenses, you'll need plenty of fresh souls. Souls function as the fuel for the jabs, sorceries, and silly songs that your party spews forth. And where do we procure fresh souls, boys and girls? Why, from the living, of course. Defeating monsters yields a little bit of precious soul juice, but mostly you'll be sucking bugs off the walls to replenish your stores and keep your ragtag group of revenants combat ready.
Luckily, each bug has as many souls within it as the letters in its name. A roach has, 5 souls in it? If you wanted a little hint of existential terror, just remember that every roach you kill contains 5 souls. That's where all these dead people are going when they're reincarnated.
Basically, insects are the clown car of reincarnation.
So what's the point of all this fighting? Why, loot, of course! And in a world that runs on words, the best loot you can get is a big old pile of juicy letters. These drop from fallen foes, of course, but you can also find them hidden throughout the world as a reward for opening chests and speaking with chatty skull piles. But they don't just give up the goods.
The skulls only part with their riches if you solve a clever riddle, or sometimes a not so clever riddle.
Which word is it you always spell incorrectly? Yes!
But the chests are a minigame all their own. Every time you pop one open, you have a limited number of guesses to help the Cryptmaster remember the name of whatever's inside. You can ask him to describe or touch the object to get some clues, but the real fun is found in making him lick weird stuff.
Now, it bit me. What should we do with it? A rat. Yes, that's what it's called.
And occasionally, these chests contain a little surprise instead, just to keep you on your toes.
Alright, so souls power your undead champions, and letters form the foundation of every combat ability and core memory your heroes can unlock. Level up by unlocking enough memories, and you get to pick another letter to add to the end of your name, increasing your hero's toughness.
Nixie? What a silly name. I'm not calling you that.
If a particular monster is giving you grief, you can always travel back to previous areas to grind some fights and scoop up some bugs for more letters and souls and existential terror. When you think about it, all of this is a really clever way of distilling the common concepts of experience points, loot, grinding, and combat skills that have become standards of RPG progression, putting it into simple terms anyone could understand.
The devs put in a strong effort to make Cryptmaster accessible, adding in controller support and voice command as control options. And they work okay. But really, keyboard and mouse is where it's at. The lack of a world map might seem daunting at first, but is quickly remedied by the addition of fast travel. As soon as you know the name of a location, you can type it aloud to open a portal and revisit previous areas at any time. If a puzzle is giving you too much trouble, certain NPCs will offer up hints, and on occasion your skeletal patron offers to just step in and solve it for you.
No! Well, you want me to do it? You felt delighted.
These difficulty options can all be adjusted to your satisfaction, of course, but I'm thankful they were there. Some of these puzzles are absolute brainbusters. I'm not messing around.
If all Cryptmaster had to offer was fighting and occasional riddles, it might get repetitive real fast. So it's a good thing that there's a massive amount of side activities on offer during your quest toward the surface. Certain doors have this clever mechanism that basically functions as a 4-letter word search. There's an entirely optional collectible card game whose meta functions similarly to Gwent, but with some clever alphabet-based overtones.
Nothing gets that southern blood pumping like some clever alphabet-based overtones.
Oh no. There's the holy altars scattered around the land that function as sentient save points, and it's your job to come up with new and creative ways to desecrate them.
Yes, give it a good soaking.
No repeats, please. There's a potion crafting mechanic that lets you repurpose all those bugs and fish you've been catching. There's a crucial code-breaking puzzle. There's a fishing mini-game. And this is just scratching the surface.
What's equally impressive is the high level of polish on display here. If a word-based puzzler like this had Flash game production value, it would be way easier to pass it on by. But instead we have a gorgeous hand-drawn monochrome art style that's fully rendered into 3D assets, which brings to mind the striking visuals of horror games like Mundawn or Return of the Obra Dinn. Black and white too dreary for you? Well, you can recolor everything to brighten it up if you want to. Sound design is also really well done, and the fact that your walking corpses mumble out the names of their spells is an incredibly welcome and silly touch. My favorite is when the bard heals you, he goes,
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but we can't just breeze past the sea witch's crabs!
Let's not forget about the music. The opening song is this excellent theme that starts out spooky and then starts to flirt with complexity as it goes on. Throughout the dark cavern halls, you're going to hear more atmospheric pianos, jaunty accordion tunes, even some eclectic hip-hop tracks. These are fantastic dungeon songs to grind away to.
I am the kind of person that will often turn off the music of a game
Breaking my heart.
to listen to a podcast or listen to other music.
Breaking my heart.
And this is a game that I kept those tunes on for.
Yep, it's got good tunes.
Cryptmaster is all about the atmosphere. The smooth, step-based movement throughout the grid-like cavern levels pays subtle attention to changes in height, making exploration feel more dynamic as the shuffling sounds of your corpse party's rotten feet echo through the halls. Descriptions roll across the screen when you touch a waterfall or look out into a mysterious grotto. The details in the various tunnels, traps, and monstrosities all jump out beautifully. Quite a feat for a black and white game. Look at these cavern walls, and as your group of undead warriors explores the depths, you'll stumble across tons of critters, both friendly and, not so friendly, that ooze with thoughtful design. Look at this rat guy. Or also this ooze. Anyway, the rat guy, he's got a little candlestick on his head.
Oh, and this one's wearing a crate instead of pants.
Oh.
From the jolly Australian ratman
Bonza.
to the engorged mass of the Toad King, NPCs of these underground societies are all fully voiced and animated, and I really looked forward to meeting whatever quirky personality the game was hiding around the next corner.
Good luck, I love you.
Conversations move forward by entering one-word answers in a text prompt, which fits perfectly with the idea that Joro is forcing his words through long, dormant lips. The game's clever writing and keen sense of humor shines through every conversation.
In fact, every few days me and some of the fellas like to get together and have a good old groom. Really get into some of those awkward places. You're, welcome to come, no pressure. I can, leave you some literature if you like.
But the real star of the show has to be the Cryptmaster himself.
Oh yes, I was just about to say that one.
He prods you into action when you're creeping around in corners.
Are you delaying? What are you doing here?
He comments on your one-word mumblings.
Oh, you've seen a fish. Oh, we should find some way of catching those.
The Cryptmaster has so many throwaway lines for various situations and set pieces that it's rare to hear one repeated. And the fact that these unnecessary details are in here at all is yet another hallmark of the level of care put into this entire game.
Yes, a mirror. That's what it's called. You may continue.
What's an RPG without an epic quest? The saga of Cryptmaster is one of redemption. Or not, depending entirely on you. Much of the story is pieced together via small details in your conversations with the various inhabitants of the vast underground. Further gaps are filled in by finding scattered pages in the game's dark corners or unlocking the core memories that progress your character levels. There's even a few pivotal moments that change how certain events turn out. It's absolutely fitting that this non-linear method of storytelling forms another, larger puzzle over the framework of the game.
But it's hard out there for the non-living. The goddess of life and her flame-headed proxy want to end your escapades early, probably because you can't stop coming up with creative ways to defile her altars. And a big round problem blocks the exit to the tombs. a giant eyeball that detects souls. Since your gang doesn't have a scrap of a soul to share between them, you take a quick side journey for the Soul Stone, which the Cryptmaster reveals to be the source of his power.
The Soul Stone, the source of my dark power.
Old Bonyface lets it slip that he doesn't have a physical body of his own, so he needs you to drag his big black rock around for him.
After defeating this dubious security measure, your ragged gang of once proud heroes drags themselves out of the crypt and the long journey to the surface begins. You'll make your way through the bone houses, realm of the ratmen. You'll march through dangerous marshes filled with swamp-dwelling toadmen. You'll risk impalement in the catacombs of ancient kings. And among the many side quests and diversions in these dark, dank depths, you'll collect the lost pages of a story that tells of 4 heroes that defended a great city on the surface. Heroes named Joro, Sin, Maz, and Nyx. Seems familiar somehow. Even the statues that you continue to desecrate begin to recognize details from your former life.
Oh, for Shalia's sake, that is just typical.
But these clues only bring up more questions. If you ever make it into the city above, what fate awaits you there? What is the Cryptmaster after, and what's his role in all of this? What's yours? Can you break free from the Cryptmaster's thrall? Will you, want to, if given the chance? Are we the bad guys? There's only one way to find out. And in a realm where words are the ultimate power, it's gonna take a lot of letters to get there.
Anyways, if you got this far in the video, we'd like to take a second to let you know that we really appreciate you being here. Thanks for sticking around. If Cryptmaster looks like a winner to you, or if you've got another favorite RPG that turns tried and true mechanics into something more creative, why not take a second to let us know down in the comments.
As always, if you wish to support our efforts to bring back feel-good game reviews, consider becoming a member of the Heroes table on Patreon. It costs just 2 measly doubloons to get earlier access to new videos and have polls over our haircuts and whatever else. Control our lives, internet! You'll get your name prominently displayed alongside these valiant warriors. Higher tiers also gain a special Discord role, and those that dare donate at the Seat of Honor level earn a shout-out, such as the illustrious Wolfgang Bristol.
And if you lack the funds to help our journey along, that's okay too. A simple like, comment, share, sub, all the good algorithm stuff really helps us get our videos in front of more eyeballs. Like this giant eyeball that talks.
I am the High Stone, sentinel of the Underland. Under my ever-watchful gaze, the dead may not pass, and the living also need a good excuse.
Anyway, let's shake the grave dust off and drag this video up to the surface.
For a game that begins with crawling out of a casket, Cryptmaster feels incredibly fresh. Stomping around in a catacomb in search of loot is nothing we haven't seen before. Over the last decade or so, we've seen excellent indie games tackle the age-old dungeon crawling genre, as well as some long-dead series getting a AAA resurrection. But these games all play it relatively safe, on the whole, never straying too far from the well-covered ground that their predecessors are known for. So it comes as a huge surprise to find a title that revitalizes a familiar blueprint in a way that feels bold and memorable.
In Cryptmaster, every morsel of gameplay sings in harmony with its central theme, which is not something we can say lightly, and it pulls all this off with an incredible sense of style to boot. This game is more than just a simple dungeon crawler. It's an adventure that cleverly uses language as a through line. It's filled with jokes, riddles, and clever puzzles that players of all ages can enjoy.
It'll knock you out like a witch's bong.
And we highly recommend that you delve into these dungeons yourself. Just be sure to keep a dictionary close at hand.
And a riddle book.
And a thesaurus.
As always, thanks for watching.
And we'll see you on the next
Two-Headed Hero. Hey, we did it.
Ta-ta for now.
Fewer people